Hey guys, welcome back to another SEO audit. Today I'll be doing an SEO audit for Gold Coast Drywall out in Queensland, Australia. So we'll be doing the standard SEO checklist. Simple but effective SEO checklist that's kind of covers all the foundational issues within an SEO strategy. We usually offer this for any business owner. We offer it for free. We go through the phase one system. We do have other phases, so phase two, phase three, phase four, that cover more in-depth SEO, categories. So I guess you could say, well, SEO parts, keyword research, content, things like that. And we may hint at those areas today, just when we're looking at the site. But today, we'll be really focusing on going through these foundational core SEO issues and how we can improve them, or see if we find any opportunities, find any defects that could be holding their SEO back, right, or their SEO rankings back. If you don't have a copy of this, simply click the link in the description below, join my Facebook group, and you'll be able to get it in there. I know sometimes, with these SEO audits, if you've seen my previous videos with, SEO audits for local businesses, we don't always have access to their tools, right? We don't always have access to their Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Bing Search Console, things like that. So in this case, to make life easier for you, what I've started doing, or if you guys want to do this too, is certain things that we don't have access to, you can simply just hide those areas, right? So as you can see here, it shows you that we've hidden a couple already, but what we'd usually do is we'd take, so for example, Google Analytics, right? We highlight all of their kind of columns and their their different features, and we just go hide rows in here, and that would just make things a bit easier for us, a bit more organized and a bit more clear for the client when we send it over to them. So a quick tip: if you do have this checklist, simply just hide the areas that you aren't using, that you aren't looking at for that specific SEO audit, and this will make life a bit easier for you and the client. Now, if you haven't seen my SEO audits before, how this works is really simple. We usually just go through, we put a Z there or an X there, and it will basically, we'll go through the different features, the different foundational SEO issues, and we'll just add if they have them or if they don't have them, right? And then at the end of it, we'd usually add like a phase one top issues list. So it's all the different things that, the different notes that I have, so for example, there's one here already that I've added. So all title tags are the same, just a quick note. But what we'd usually go through is kind of build almost like a list of deliverables that we can offer to the client. So we can say, look, here's a bunch of stuff that we can do to your site to improve your SEO. It's going to cost X amount of money. Or you could then say, right, here's a bunch of stuff that we can do for your SEO to help improve your SEO. If you want us to take this further and start doing other things like, benchmarking, like data benchmarking in phase two, looking at the actual content on the site, checking duplicate content, checking, like the actual page structure, checking the internal linking, things like that, and then doing the keyword research, all that kind of stuff. You can then say, right, we're going to do the phase two, phase three, phase four for X amount of money, right? So that's kind of how it works. But again, as I say, this is a free SEO audit, phase one SEO audit that we offer for businesses, right? Mostly local businesses. Also, what we'll also be going through is the actual design of the site as well. So we'll be going through how they've structured their page, and how I would, from a conversion rate optimization perspective, improve this site from a usability standpoint, from a design standpoint. And this could be the actual colors, the typography, the call to actions as well. Talking about how could we improve the actual offer that they're offering on their site. Are the call to actions structured in a certain way that could be beneficial for users, and how can we actually, the premise of looking at the site and how can we improve the design is, it's really important if you're focusing on SEO and you're focusing on getting traffic to the site. If you're doing any kind of paid advertising campaign and you're trying to get that traffic to the site and then turn that traffic into real leads, right? And those leads can be, people that call up the business, can be download a guide, can be fill in a form, things like that. So I'll probably be going over, briefly going over that today because it's obviously massively important and it's something that I want to start focusing on, making more content around. Now, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So as you can see here, obviously it's a drywall company, home services business for residential homes and commercial areas, right? So probably quite an in-need demand service, especially for commercial reasons as well. I remember working with, I remember looking to base myself in an office, and at the time, the man that was doing the office, that owned the offices, he was actually sectioning this big room up into different parts using, installing walls and things like that to almost make more smaller offices out of this one large space. So I can see why it can be quite useful and beneficial. So first of all, the first thing that I've noticed by looking at this page is obviously a very small site. And that's not necessarily, means that you're going to have a bad SEO strategy, but it's definitely not going to give you a good start, right? It's not going to push you off into a good kind of, it's not going to get you great rankings when you first launch a site, depending on, how much content are on these pages and things like that. So to start off with, one of the first things that I would do is I would almost section some of these pages up into separate categories and separate pages throughout the site, right? Instead of having a services page, I would actually be more inclined to maybe have a services page, obviously, and this is more like a navigation page, and then turn these different services into separate pages, breaking them up. So for example, having a commercial page for commercial drywall installation, and then having, breaking these up into kind of, a section that goes over, commercial, installation, right? And that could be ranking, that could be targeting commercial installation, right? The keyword in Queensland or wherever, and then having a page on, commercial drywall installation cost, and then that would be ranking for that keyword, and then having lots and lots of, hopefully, lots and lots of different pages around a specific term, right, or a specific page. I'm not saying you have to do this. You could just break it up into just having a commercial page, for commercial drywall installation, and then turning that page, covering lots of different topics on that page. So the cost, the frequently asked questions, and then having specific videos and pictures, stuff like that, specifically for these different pages, right? Now, if you don't offer multiple services, that's not a problem. If you're a specialist in one specific service, right? Say, for example, like drywall, right? You're a specialist in, specifically drywall installation services, right? You can break this up to a certain degree, to commercial, to residential, things like that, renovation, repairs. You can break this up into a certain degree, right? But there's only so far you can go with that. What I would then recommend you do, if it came down to that, if you don't, if you only offer, you're saying to me, oh, I only offer one service, we can't break it up into multiple services and rank for multiple keywords, right? What I would then say is, let's just skip to focusing on the education, right? Let's build a really great page for the one service that you offer, right? Let's build a really good page that, is keyword rich. It's got, great content on there, great videos, great images, everything like that, everything's structured, right? And it's ready for ranking, okay? And then I would also build lots of educational pages covering lots of different questions around the one service that you offer, right? And to explain this a bit more, let me just get out the whiteboard. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but it's something that I believe is really key, and it's something that when I build any site, it's something that I keep in mind. Any site that wants SEO services afterwards, what we usually require is we take on the website and then we redo the website, redevelop the site. Okay, and the benefit of this, well, I'm about to tell you actually. So what we'd usually do is we take a site, depending on what service it is, right? And we build out at least, 15 to 20, 25 pages, right? I mean, one client we're working with now, we're doing about 25 pages to 30 pages for them. Okay. And these pages, they're not all completely unique in terms of the design and stuff like that. Obviously, they've got different content, but they've got the same layout usually. But what's important about it is, it's different. Obviously, it's completely unique content on each page, right? And what this specific service is, right, is, let's just say TMS, okay? So they offer TMS, which is a specific, there's different types of TMS, but it is just a specific service that they offer. Okay, that's one service, right? So what we're doing, because there's only just one service, maybe there's like, a couple of others, like different types of TMS, but the grand, like if you put it into if you really look at it, it's just one service, okay? So what we're doing is we're really focusing on building out, lots and lots of informational pages or education pages. I guess you could say education pages, covering everything to do with TMS, right? So this could be TMS cost, TMS versus ECT, TMS, how does TMS work, things like that, right? So we're doing lots and lots of educational pages, and then maybe doing like some other pages that help with user experience as well. So what happens, in your first visit, right, and so on, right? This can be applied to drywall as well, right? This can be applied to something. It can be applied to a lot of different industries, right? Even if you did have lots of services, I'd still recommend having lots of informational, educational pages, right? So if we apply this to the case study that we're working with today, so drywall, okay, and then under this drywall will be like drywall repairs, to be honest, some of these you could add just simply in the drywall page. Commercial, I would have that as a separate page actually. Commercial repair, commercial drywall. Just bear with me for a minute here because I'm going to explain why this is all beneficial. Drywall, I guess these are the service pages you could say, but they're pretty similar to each other. There's, at hand, it's the same kind of system and service at play. I would then have informational pages and education pages, obviously, and these pages would be: how does drywall work? How does drywall work? Drywall, I don't know, versus, let's say, plastering. Okay, I don't know. I'm not a specialist at this kind of stuff, so maybe I may be wrong about that. There may be not a difference. I don't know, but you could do lots of different informational pages. How long does it take? How long does it take? Things like that. And you can answer these different questions, right? And obviously you want to do your keyword research, and you want to do the different research to find the best articles that people are searching for and the most relevant articles in terms of user intent. So, I'm not going to get into that, but you really want to obviously research before, don't take my advice and just randomly think of different terms that off the top of your head. You want to be obviously doing the research using keyword tools like Ahrefs, Ask the Public, which is a free one, and just really finding out what people are asking for and then building content around it, and then also looking at your competitors as well. So, and then in this case as well, I would also have, what happens on your first visit, a page like that, or what happens in your first, call or quote. And then also with this client, it seems, they kind of service the Gold Coast, or Queensland or wherever. What's great about businesses that aren't, drywall businesses and things like that, where they don't have to do work within their premises, like a TMS clinic, people have to go to their clinic to get TMS treatment. But what's great about, home services businesses, they can service multiple locations, right? So what I would then have is service pages, right? And then these service pages could be, drywall installation, installation in X, right? And so on. So you have multiple locations, and then they're all ranking for, well, they're targeting different locations, right, within the area. Now, why is this all beneficial to your overall SEO strategy, and why would I highly recommend this company set this up? Now, first of all, having a ton more content on your site is just generally beneficial, as an SEO strategy, right? Google loves to see lots of content. They love to see that you're, building informative content to help educate users using their platform, right? And if they're seeing that you're really trying to answer these different questions with useful, valuable content, high quality content, they'll give you a reward. And this reward would be rankings inside of Google, right? So you would then, rank for how does drywall work, drywall versus plastering, how long does it take, and so on, right? In an ideal world, obviously. But you'll start ranking these different articles for these different terms nationally, right? And this would be, on what I mean by this is not locally, so it's not like how does drywall work in Queensland, things like that. It would be in Australia, right? So people searching in us, and usually, right, ranking for national terms, 9 times out of 10, more traffic. Well, there's usually more traffic for these national terms, right? Now, why is this beneficial? Why should you be ranking for these national terms? Okay, not necessarily for leads, okay, because 9 times out of 10, if someone's in Sydney and you're down in Queensland or whatever, someone's not going to get someone to do drywall installation, things like that, in the completely different state, right? Because that would just be silly. They'd do it from someone local to their area. However, they may do the research and they may land on your site, read about your information, things like that, and learn about how drywall works, what the difference is, things like that, and really engage with your site. Now, the great thing about this is once Google starts seeing that you're receiving a lot of national traffic, okay, so we're going to put a label. We're going to put a label here, national rankings. Okay. So national rankings, just do that. When they start seeing you're gaining a lot of national traffic to your website, they'll start to reward you for your local listings, okay? So you'll start to see rankings go up in your local area, right? So you'll start to see rankings for your specific service pages that are in local, a drywall installation in X, in a certain town, in a certain city, wherever it is, in Queensland, whatever. I don't know many places within Queensland. I don't know many cities or, towns and things like that. But that's the point, right? You then start seeing rankings go up in, these different service pages in these different areas, and then also your pages that are covering, drywall, basically the pages that you're, wanting to rank locally, okay, right, will benefit from these national pages, right, these national rankings and that national traffic. So that's why we usually do it. In addition, we can also, obviously, so in addition, from an SEO perspective, you can also internally link to more pages and provide more power to these local pages. So what I would then do is take these national pages, if you've got, a lot of them, quite a few even, and I would say, let's internally link. And what I mean by this is just add a link, linking back to these local pages, right? Linking back to your money page, linking back to your drywall page, okay? Linking back to these specific pages that will get you leads, because at the end of the day, we really want to focus on getting more leads, getting more money to the business, right? And this is the way I would do it. Okay. Third, well, one of the main reasons, right, as well, is when a user lands on your page, okay, and they've come across drywall and they're looking for drywall, right? And they're interested in drywall and they've come across your page through your local, like a local client, and they want to use you, or they're figuring out, they're going through the different competitors in the local area, and they're looking at the site, and they notice that you've got a lot of information, you've got a lot of videos, you've got a lot of transparency, you've got your pricing on the site, you've got your reviews, you've got, specific pages for different comparisons on how it works. You've maybe got a pricing calculator, right? You've got all these different things, and then, they land on your site, and then you've got all of this stuff. Maybe they land on a competitor's site that maybe doesn't have as much, of this. Maybe they even have a site that looks like this. They only have contact us services and about us. Which one do you think they're more likely to choose, right? The site with all the information, the site with the transparency, the site with the the pricing, the site with the the information around the different drywall, the different drywall information, things like that, the different comparisons, stuff like that. Okay, because I mean, the way I think about it when building these pages and this information is I really want to, my end goal is to make that specific website or make that specific business the almost WebMD of their industry. Now, what do I mean by that? So when you think about health, right, and you're looking up online something to do with your health, or you've got an ear infection, or you've got a cut, I don't know what it is, or you feel sick, you look up online and then you go to usually 3 or 4 specific websites that are kind of the information head of your industry, the education head of your industry, right? So you're looking up because you've got a bad sickness. You usually go to WebMD or Healthline. I can't think of any more, but let's say Healthline, right? Because they're the information head of your industry. They have all of the information around different health issues, different ear infections, different sicknesses, different cut, I don't know what it is, depends what it is, but you'll go to their site because you trust them and you trust the information on their page because they come up for lots of different terms that you're searching for, you see them a lot, and they seem like a trusted source of information, right? Now, obviously, 9 times, it's never going to be as easy as that. You're not going to make every single client the WebMD of their industry. You're not going to make, okay, so Healthline are the education head of the health industry, maybe, and then you've got maybe, I don't know, maybe you've got another site for the education head of, I don't know, car repairs, and then you've got another site which is the education head of gardening, and then you've got your site which is the education head of drywall installations, right? And that's where that's the key. That's what I'm trying to explain. Okay, you want to become the education source that people go to and they trust you with the information that's on your site, right? And that's what I would do. I would just look at how can I become the education head of drywall, right? How can I answer every question that someone has on drywall, right? How can I explain, how can I be the trusted source for anyone looking for any information about drywall installation or plastering or whatever it is, okay? And that's kind of the way I think about it, right? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, without further ado, let's just jump back into the audit. I know that we kind of went off topic there, but that's kind of what I would do. I would focus on those national rankings, becoming that education head, and then focusing from an SEO perspective, this is great. And then from a user experience and a conversion rate optimization perspective, it's wonderful, right? The user lands on your site and they've got all the information they need without even having to contact you. When they contact you, they've got all the information they need. All they need to do is set up a quote or set up a meeting, whatever it is, because they already know. They don't even need a quote because maybe you have pricing on the site, right? All they need to do is just contact you to come and do the job for them, right? So, yeah. Okay. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, site redirects to the preferred version, okay? So, does the site redirect to the preferred version? Yes, it does, because it's a Duda site. So we've got take out www. And it goes back to the standard version. You just want to make sure that that's in place because you don't have two versions showing or coming up. SSL certificate installed. With every Duda site, there's an SSL certificate, so that's great. Page speed faster than 2 seconds. We won't look at that just yet. Google Analytics exists, so we can just take this URL and we can plug it into something called builtwith.com. And this will basically tell you everything that's on the site, what it's built with, well, mostly everything. So Google Analytics is on there. Conversion tracking online and offline. So I don't have access to their Google Analytics, so I can't check this. But if you are interested in how you want to set this up on a Duda site, right, with Google Analytics, check out my video. Just simply type up, set up conversion tracking or something like that, or conversion tracking Leo Cook, right? And you'll be able to find it, or Duda, whatever it is. So yeah, we're going to put a Z there. And also offline basically means tracking the phone calls to the business using a tool like CallRail or call tracking metrics. 2 call to actions, 1 free and 1 paid. Okay, so what I mean by this is, have we got 2 offers that, have we got 2 offers that are kind of a call, maybe, like obviously we've got the phone number on there, call now, and then we've got a free quote. What I'd recommend is obviously changing that language, because obviously we've got to get a quote here. I'd maybe change that to get a free quote, and then also there's a free quote down here, which is great, but I'd change that to get a free quote, just to show people that you can get a free quote, just to help keep in mind for them. Okay, so that's great. They've got obviously a free quote as a call to action, and they've obviously got a number in here. You could also have, I don't know, a number, contact us page. I mean, personally, let's going back to the conversion rate optimization perspective and how we would change the design, is this call to action, I would actually change this to go into like a contact page as opposed to a number, like a click to call, and you click it and it shows the number. So I think that's near enough pointless, really. I would have a button that goes to a contact us page or a free quote page or something like that. And then I'd have the actual phone number in the header up here, so people can see it. And, if you're looking on desktop, you can whip out your phone and, type in the number. But I think this is near enough useless having this here. I would either have this as a free quote or, 2 call to actions, maybe saying, see how it works, and then another button that says, get your free quote, maybe. What's really beneficial about having a call to action, a click to call, is in mobile view. And I've explained this before in my other videos, but I'll show you why this is important. And I'm hoping they've added it in place. Okay, so we'll just do Google Pixel and we'll just type that in there, do run live tests. So as you can see, this is obviously the mobile version, so we've still got that click to call down here. I would remove that. First of all, I'd remove that call to action and just push this up a bit more, because we just, keep that form, because I think it's pointless having that there, and then just move that form a bit upwards so people can just simply fill out a form. And then I'd add a phone number in the top right corner up here, which would be sticky. So what I mean by that is any page you go onto, right? So if I go onto contact us, that will still be up there, right? It won't go. And then I'll have the little call emblem, like this little icon up here. So anytime they're going through the different pages, they can just click on it. And as you know, on a smartphone, it will just bring up the option to call the business, and you can click on it and call the business, right? So I would have that in place, and that's just a prime opportunity. So I'd highly recommend doing that. But I'm going to give them an X there because they have got the free quote as well, which is great. So robot.text exists. So that comes with every Duda site. So you just want to go to check this, right? Because Duda make everything's a bit easier in terms of like focusing on foundational SEO issues. Duda actually has, enabled it so you'd have these things in place when you set up a site, right? So you already have the sitemap installed. You already have like an SSL. You already have, the robot.text, and the sitemap is already added within this robot.text. So I mean, I can just go through and just add that and X there. Oh, and then I can also go XML sitemap, including robot text, and then X there. And why is this beneficial? Because you're basically telling Google when they land on the site to go and crawl the different pages within the sitemap, right? Because the sitemap, which I'm going to get onto now, basically covers all the different pages within the site, as you can see here. So I would, we're going to put sitemap exists. That comes with every Duda site, as I've mentioned. XML sitemap, including robot.txt. I don't know if it's been submitted to Search Console yet because I don't have access. However, right, Duda have just brought out a new feature. I'm going to do a video on it, but they've basically installed this new app onto their system, which is called Search Console. And I think it's their first app that they've actually built themselves, as opposed to a third-party platform building it for them and then installing it on their system. So what it does is you basically log into Search Console through the app on Duda, and then every time, what it will do is it will install Search Console onto your site, and then what it will do is every time you publish your site, it will submit a sitemap, right? So every time it will submit your XML sitemap, right? So every time you add any new information, whatever it is, every time you publish it, it will automatically upload another sitemap. And I can't tell you how much. That's great, really. To be honest, I mean that's really good. That's wonderful because it helps. It's another thing to kind of streamline the process of, conducting foundational SEO, on Duda websites, right? So yeah, that's wonderful, and I'm going to be installing that on every site that I currently run. Okay. A HTML sitemap created. So we don't have. I don't believe we have one of them. No, we don't. Not in the footer, and I don't believe we have it in. No, we don't. Okay, so I'd highly recommend setting one of them up, and I have done a video on how to set one of them up. If you just type up in my YouTube channel, or you just type up in YouTube, Leo Cook, Duda sitemap, right, or Duda HTML sitemap, and I talk about how to submit an XML sitemap to Google, and then also how to create a HTML sitemap in your website. Website submitted to Search Console. Again, this is I don't know, but Duda have now installed this new app, and this would help streamline this process, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to put Z there. So install that. Content budget exists. We're going to do I don't know. Website is easy to edit. Yes, because it's in Duda. Keywords are properly mapped in phase 2. No. Internal links pointing to name pages, and I talked about this earlier in my whiteboard explanation, but if they were to have lots of content on their page, they could then do internal links back to their money pages to then indicate to Google that this is their prime page and we want this page to be ranking, right? And this is one of our main pages, right? And it helps Google crawl through the site. What is an internal link? Let me just give you a quick example. If I went to how does TMS work in this example here. So this is a page on how does TMS work. Obviously, it's a national ranking page. We've set up small internal links going back to, like, for example here, so transcranial magnetic stimulation TMS goes back to our money page, which is TMS Tampa, which is the page that we want to rank in Tampa, right? So yeah, that's how it works. I mean, you just set up an internal link going back to your money pages. Okay. And this can be on all the main pages that you have. Just make sure when you're setting up these internal links, make sure the text that's linking, the anchor text, which is what we call it, linking back to the money page or the important pages that you have, make sure it's relevant to that money page, right? So if it's depression treatment in Tampa or depression treatment New York or wherever it is, or for example, drywall in Queensland, wherever it is, make sure that that keyword is the anchor text or some variation of that keyword is the anchor text linking back to that page. Okay, so I'd highly recommend that. So we're going to put a Z there because they haven't really got enough pages to set that up, I would say. Yeah, So highly recommend that. All footer and header links work. I'm not going to check that right now. Website sandbox. So to find this out, or just to find out whether your website is really showing in Google, or if there's any issues with it showing in Google, just do this site and you can see what's being indexed in Google. As I can tell, all the different title tags are just the same, and that's a big issue. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have that in place. They're all exactly the same. So we already added this note. I noted this previously. So we're going to add. Oh, I thought we already added it. All title tags, so I don't forget. We don't really look at title tags within this section and kind of H1s and metas and things like that. We usually look at that within the next 2 to 4 phases. So, but I'm going to add a note anyway because it's something I don't want to miss. All title tags are the same. Okay. Is that there? About page exists, so they do have an about page. Contact page exists, they do have a contact page. Unsecure content exists, I don't know. Well, I'm going to put, I'm going to put next there because I know there's not many pages. I've gone through all of them. I know the SSL certificate on Duda is pretty sound. So, favicon is basically the little icon. When you click on a site, you can see that they've got one in place, which is great. So we're going to put next there. Terms of service page. So I'd highly recommend having one of these, and they don't seem to have any kind of legal pages on there. I'm not going to explain why you need them. Doesn't really take a genius to work that one out, to be honest. It's good for a number of different reasons. It also creates that trust with Google. So yeah, I'd highly recommend having them in place. Reviews page. So the reason why I usually recommend, if you're not going to do, a huge amount of educational pages and things like that, just keep in mind, just if you can, create a reviews page and create a pricing page, right? Because people, when they're searching up, any kind of business, usually it goes, business name, and then it goes plus business name plus pricing or reviews, right? This is one of the things that we've noticed is a very common terms with any business, right? Pricing and reviews. So I'd highly recommend having one of them, a specific page on your site for reviews and a specific page for pricing as well. So we just put Z there, and we're going to put a Z there. Don't know why I've done that. So there we go. I did notice you have got reviews on the homepage, which are great, but I would specifically create a specific page that can be indexed in Google. When people search up, Gold Coast drywall reviews, that specific page will show up. For example, if I was to type up, let's type up, let's say Ritz Plumbing reviews. Okay, it's not a great example. Let's just say Florida TMS Clinic reviews, right? So there you go. We've got a specific page for reviews for Florida TMS Clinic. I don't know. Let's just say Twin Plumbing reviews. Okay. Obviously, there are independent review channels as well, but it's always nice to have your own website showing those reviews as well. Yeah, I'd highly recommend that. Okay. And again, pricing page, I don't really know to go into huge depth, into much depth in how, why you should have a pricing page. But, it's something that can be that one last, factor where someone chooses you as opposed to a competitor, right? Recent client I was kind of doing an SEO audit with, and it's all documented on the YouTube channel. I think it's Brom Store. It's one of them. I think it's that audit. But I noticed that on their specific site, they didn't cover pricing for their mezzanine floors, right? And that was the product they were offering. And there was a lot of variables that come into play, which with a lot of things there usually are with pricing, especially, for my service as well, websites, there are sometimes lots of variables that come into play, and SEO, and I assume with drywall as well. However, what was interesting about the competitor that I was looking at for them is they took these variables, right, and they used them to their advantage. What they did was they actually took these, variables that usually most businesses or owners go, you know what, I'm not going to have the pricing on the page because there's so many different things that come into play when thinking about the pricing. There's so many different variables. We can't just add the pricing on the site. Okay, but what they did, what their competitor did, right, is they actually built a pricing calculator, which took into account all the different variables and then gave them a kind of, the user can go on there and then, go through the different factors that, price a mezzanine floor, which is a type of product, service, whatever. So it was like size, material, different things like that, weight, how much you need, things like that, length. So it was all those different variables, and then it gives the user, right, or gives the customer a kind of an idea or a budget of how much it will cost them. And this is one. I thought this was great. I'll try and find the example again. Mezzanine floors, Essex. Let's just have a look here. Well, let's go. These guys here, right? So first, as you can tell, I mean, they're ranking first. So as and then as you go down, you've got looking for fast mezzanine pricing, get a budget cost in 60 seconds, and then a budget calculator, because they know, right, that how important pricing is for a customer, right? When they land on the site, there's a couple of questions that are at play. Who are they? What do they do? Why should I choose them? And then pricing, right? I mean, even so, you could even say, right, mezzanine floors, how much does it cost? Usually that's, if I'm skipping out all the other stuff and they're just looking at how much does it cost, and then they usually compare this with other competitors, things like that, and that's how a sale happens, and that's how a lead contacts. That's how a lead becomes a lead or a customer, right? So yeah, get a budget cost in 60 seconds. Having something like this in play, even if you can't do a calculator, right? Maybe you could do like just an article on the different variables that could affect the pricing, right? That could be a really nice idea. The different things that come into play when pricing your service. Okay, so highly recommend that. So social proof testimonial videos, all of these again, highly recommend them if you've got the budget to set them up. Indexation, right? So to check see what's being indexed inside of Google, what you want to do is you just want to go to site, and you can actually see what's coming up in Google. So for example, this page down here, this is coming up, heating and cooling. Not very beneficial for the SEO strategy because it's not really relevant to, it's not helping anything. So I would de-index this page. It's just a page with a get a quote form on, and it says residential, but this is for heating and cooling. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe they were going to create a page for heating and cooling, but it just never came around. But what they've done is they've left it, and it's live, and people can access it. Google can see it, and this is something that is detrimental for your SEO strategy. So having irrelevant pages being indexed inside of Google, showing up for your site, is something that is just a no-go, right? You shouldn't have it. And we often see this with massive sites. We usually, we can see like thank you pages being indexed, lots of PDFs being indexed, lots of just useless stuff really being indexed that isn't having any kind of effect to their SEO strategy, even having a negative effect for their SEO strategy. And I'd highly recommend you de-index the pages, these pages, right? So is there any thank you pages coming up? Pipes, again, this is again just another useless page. It's pipes, and then it goes to repairs, and then it has this kind of drywall, plasterboard repairs. There's pipes, and it's just kind of all over the place. It doesn't make any sense, right? So we're going to do, what we're going to do is we're going to do an X for all of these, and then we're just going to put a Z there, because it's just thin content and no value pages which are being indexed. It's not a huge site, so yeah, again, a blog. The blog has no content on. That needs to be de-indexed. So think about that. Schema markup. Let's just go through this one real quick. We'll just take the site in here. We'll just go to structured data testing tool, which is a tool to see schema markup. And if you don't know what schema markup is, simply watch one of, well, I've got a couple of videos on schema markup, to be honest, so just type it up in my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find some, and I'll be basically talking about what it is and how it works and stuff like that. But as you can see here, there isn't any kind of schema markup detected. So what I'd highly recommend for this business is a local business markup. And if I think there's specific local business markup that are more relevant to certain businesses. So if you're doing plumbing, there's plumbing markup. Maybe there's home services markup, or maybe something like that. But if not, local business markup is what I'd highly recommend, and also website markup. Yeah, so local business markup, I'd add that. Oh, no, I'd add that. I'd also add blog markup if they're going to add any blogs, breadcrumbs as well, if they're going to add breadcrumbs, FAQs. Again, I would also add that, but obviously there isn't much content on there. So, I don't know, but we're just going to do it as for all of these. Obviously, you've got to think about which ones are relevant to the business. So I wouldn't have organization markup because, I'd rather have, I think local business is more suited for this specific company. Certain things I would have and certain things I wouldn't have, and I'll explain that in the phase 1 notes. You've got to think about, though, if they have those specific things on the site as well. If they have FAQs on the site, frequently asked questions, then you would then recommend having FAQ schema markup. However, they don't really have much content at all. So, it's a bit of a strange situation, really. Website design, mobile friendly. We'll just quickly check if it's mobile friendly. Mobile friendly test. Obviously, this is massively important. Google is, penalizing sites that aren't mobile friendly because most people go onto Google in their mobile, so it's massively important. If you have an issue with the mobile, it's something that you really need to look at. But thankfully, with Duda, we do see that they keep this in mind, and most pages are mobile friendly within Duda. So we're going to put an X there. Breadcrumbs. They do have breadcrumbs on certain pages within the site, but not the pages that I can access, right? So what I mean by this is when I go to the actual what pages are being indexed, I've noticed they've actually started adding breadcrumbs up here, right? But we can't see any breadcrumbs in the services page, in the contact us page, in the about us page. So I'm going to give them a Z there as well. Social media on the site. I don't see any social media. Again, massively important from a user trust perspective. For people that are trusting your company, if you have social media, it's a good indication of trust, and it shows social signals from Google's perspective, which can benefit your SEO as well. So having social signals is important. Social media on the site. There, CTA above the fold for highest traffic pages. So do we have a call to action above the fold? We do have one here, which is, I would adjust obviously, but we do have one. One quick tip for this, if you want to keep a call to action consistently above the fold, add it in the header up here, like we've done for the how does TMS for Florida. So we've added this kind of button up here. So yeah, and then that's always constantly above the fold on all pages. As you can see here, there's no call to actions. There's no call to actions. So having that in the header would be something I'd recommend to keep it consistently above the fold. So we're going to put as of that. Proper navigation, yep. Search feature, they don't have a search feature. I've explained in my previous audits why it's beneficial to have a search bar to figure out what your customers are really looking for. So page speed, right? So we're going to check in page speed insights from an SEO perspective, right? What I mean by this is Google's score based on how well your site is structured. So are the images optimized? Have you got gzip? Compression. Have you compressed the code? Have you got you haven't got massive amounts of JavaScript, things like that. And then they'll give you a score, and this is usually an indication of what your core web vitals will be, things like that. And that's obviously becoming more and more predominant and important, and it's it's obviously becoming a ranking factor as well. So as you can see here, there needs improvements. Obviously, it's not awful, so good job on that front. There isn't loads of pages and lots of information on the site, so I was assuming it was going to be not too bad. But yeah, I would still think about improving this score as well. There are improvements to be made. And then you can also check from a kind of user, like an experience perspective using GT metrics. So this will actually give you I've already done it down there, you see. So this will already give you a score based on how users actually, when they actually land on the site, how long does it load? Is it really slow to load? No, it isn't. When someone lands on the site, no, it isn't, as you can see here. So we're going to, what we're going to do is we're going to do, what I'll say is I'll do pass core web vital speed. I'm going to do, Z there, and I'm going to do an X. Do Z there. However, because I will look at improving that core, that Google page speed insights. If I was to do work for them, I would look at improving that that score. Also, there is a mobile result scan test as well. You can do. It's called Test My Site, I think. Yeah, Test My Site, and you can actually see how fast it is in mobile as well. So if we go here, we can actually see what is the situation on mobile. Okay. So I'm going to improve, but we'll also make a note that GT metrics is all okay. I'll just add something in the notes when I send it over to him. Compare your site in mobile. Let's have a look here. So your mobile page speed is 3.4 seconds on 4G connection. So it's slow. It's got a rating of slow, so we'd look at improving that. Okay, and it'll give you a kind of document on how to improve that and where to improve it. So we will look at improving that. We'll add a link as well. Oh, can't add a link. Probably attach the report. I think you can download a report down here as well. Get the full report, and it'll give you like a PDF document on how what the result scanner was. So yeah, I mean that's. I'm not going to go over site architecture today. I assume there's not really any actually we'll double check it. So what you can do is you can take the URL and you can plug it into Screaming Frog. And we can see if there's any 404 errors, anything like that in play. Okay, and I think that's everything. All good, but Google page speed score needs improving. Okay, I will add some more in-depth notes on that. Okay, we'll just see if there's any 404 errors. And we're all good on that front. So that's great. I think that's everything, guys, for today. I hope that helps. I hope you've learned some bits. Obviously, this site is very small, so there wasn't really too much that we could really look at from an improvisation standpoint. Again, from a conversion rate optimization standpoint, I'd also recommend maybe looking at adjusting the website messaging, the font, so Gold Coast drywall. Is there any ways that we can actually explain, as to why we should choose them above the fold? Is there some different features that they offer that the competitors don't? Again, the call to actions as well, I would change them to, maybe two call to actions to maybe how it works, and then get a free quote, something like that. Also, the photos as well. I'm not seeing any faces of the business. I like to see a personal kind of touch to the see actual face to the business, as opposed to something it's quite aggressive. Someone punching through a drywall. Maybe giving off the wrong impression. I would have more of something like a face to the business. This is quite nice down here as well, photos of different projects. These are lovely as well, really like these. Some more different case studies as well. It's always a good idea. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. There is a lot more I could go over, but I feel the video is long enough already. We've gone over some key areas. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. If you want the SEO checklist, simply click the link in the description below. If you are a local business and you'd like an audit just like this one, simply click the form link below, fill out the form, and I'll set one up for you just like we've done today. Okay, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.